Hello, I'm Peter Machin. Welcome to my podcast. I love this conversation with Patti Smith. Beyond the obvious fact that it's Patti, who is so intelligent and sensitive and filled with compassion, the thing that I really love about this recording is the way that it unfolds, and how, in that unfolding, it shows the power of conversation to create a connection between people. Things start off kind of awkwardly. Patti was tired, and I was a little shy. But as we start talking, you can almost feel the connection forming. And soon we're just two human beings, thousands of kilometers away from each other, talking in the darkness of night. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Patti as much as I did at the time. And if you like this podcast, please share it with everyone you know. And don't forget to click on the like and subscribe buttons. Here's me and Patti.
Hello? Hello?
Hi, is that Patti?
Yes.
Hi, it's Peter Machin from Durban.
Oh, hello, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks. And you?
Fine, just a bit tired.
Okay, have you...
I've been traveling.
Sorry?
Pardon me, I've been traveling all day.
Okay. And you're in Norway?
Yes, but I had to come, I had to get 2 flights and quite a drive. I'm up in the mountains. So I'm a bit tired, but everything is good.
That's very good. I'm so glad to hear that. Patti, I just wanted to start by saying thank you so much for doing this.
That's all right. Yes, I'm very, very tired though, so we should do what we can, okay?
My first question to you is, I'm not going to ask you what it feels like to be a rock and roll star, but I'm going to ask you this. How do you feel being the friend and companion to generations that follow you in the same way that Rimbaud and Whitman and Burroughs and Blake were friends and companions to you? Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, I couldn't say that. I mean, if you're saying that,
Yeah, I am saying
it's quite an honor. I mean, what could one say? You know, if you can, all of these people have certainly given to me, and if I can give to others, that's a great thing. But it's not something that an artist should think about himself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do.
It's one of the. It's a very nice thing to think about, but all I can say is it's a beautiful thought.
And you made really incredibly beautiful music to break through, to get to me, as a kind of 19-year-old, like 20 years later on a different side of the world, So, I mean, that just amazes me, thank you, is all I can say.
Well, thanks. I mean, the thing is that as you go through life, the pursuit of art and the pursuit of new ideas, all of these things keeps your mind elastic. And so it's, I am the age that I am, but I still look at things always with new eyes. And hopefully, if people can look at my work in the same way, it's a really wonderful thing.
And do you ever struggle to keep those eyes new? Are there ever moments where you feel disillusioned, where you get irritated with the world? I just had enough. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I get irritated with the world. I get irritated with politicians. I get irritated with governments, and I get and with corporations. But I mean, in terms of the imagination, we're given an imagination, and my imagination is always fertile. I'm either thinking of my own things or constantly engaged by the things that other people do, and it's so great because we have such a depth of human history in all of the arts. Whether it's opera or mathematics or painting or classical music or jazz. I mean, rock and roll. There's so many things to study, new books to read, and certainly come up with new ones. So I have to say that I'm never bored. I mean, I might feel sometimes discouraged or frustrated, but never bored.
Well, one of the things that resonates with me, like actually very personally, is that the fact that you've said on several occasions that you have felt alien to the human race, that you came from somewhere else. And I don't want to overstress my connection to you as just another person on the other side of the world. You know, when I was a kid growing up, you know, I really felt that quite profoundly, and I just wonder why we think this. You know, is it part of the
Well, I think that some of us just do. You know, the feeling that you're speaking about that you feel is a real feeling, and I think it's because some people are more connected with our most ancient past than others. I'm not saying that some are better than others. I'm just saying that some of us channel the most ancient times. And, you know, when I was a child, I was certain that, you know, I could remember what it was like to live on Venus. I could remember what it was like, you know, to live in the American plains. I could remember, and it's ancient memory. We all have it. It's just some of us access it more than others. And I think that thing is a special thing, but it also makes us feel somewhat alien, somewhat removed from our present. And, you know, my whole life I've spent so much of my life just feeling comfortable in the world that I'm in. And one of the ways that I've been able to feel that way is just by doing my work, you know, just by, you know, some of the things that make me feel estranged, I've transformed them into work. Maybe it might be a poem, maybe it's a song like Rock and Roll Nigger, but, you know, that kind of feeling drew me to write a song like Rock and Roll Nigger. You know, Rock and Roll Nigger is all about that exact feeling outside society. It's where I want to be. But it's also not always where you want to be, it's just where you are.
But I mean, I reckon it's a good place to be. Clearly for you, it's a very good place to be, like Patti Smith. This idea of channeling is one of my questions, and clearly, like when you write, when you perform, things are coming from unconscious worlds. I just want to ask you as a songwriter, as a craftsperson, to what extent do you polish your words after they have sprung from the source? Do you rearrange them, change them around? How much stays and retains?
When I improvise, I don't polish them at all. I mean, like on my albums, there's a lot of improvisation. On Horses, Birdland is an improvisation. Radio Ethiopia was an improvisation. Radio Baghdad, Gandhi, Memento Mori. Almost on every album, Wave is an improvisation. I don't clean up or edit or polish improvisations. I leave them as they stand because they represent a moment where we're struggling to channel something, and it's not about perfection, it's about communication. When I'm writing a poem where I'm hoping to achieve some kind of perfection, then I'll spend a lot of time perhaps working and reworking it, which isn't always the best thing, but it seems to be part of the process. But improvisation is really about achieving communication in with some higher realm in the moment. And it's a very honest form of, it's a way to share your direct creative impulse with the people.
Yeah.
If you give people a poem that you've written and rewritten and worked on, the original creative impulse is in there, but you've also put layers of your own labors into it. But when you improvise live, the people are seeing the naked creative impulse. And whole other experience.
Okay. And it is an amazing thing to see. And I thought about this.
What do you do? What do you do?
I
What
write.
are you interested in?
I'm music more than anything, although I have no talent that I ever access, but I write poems, I take photographs, I write for newspapers, I lay out like art catalogs, I do all kinds of things.
How old are you?
I'm 37.
You seem like you have a very interesting mind, like you're very, because those are interesting questions that you asked me. I'm sorry to ask you such personal questions, but I was just curious.
No, I mean, I'm asking you like personal questions.
Yes, but they're very interesting questions. People ask me questions all the time, and the questions that you ask me are unique. That's why I asked you that.
I can't tell you how much that means to me. That really, like, I was sitting here and I was scared my questions weren't good enough, and so yeah, I'm incredibly, really happy that you think that, Patsy.
So ask another one.
Okay. I saw you in 1999. I think it was the first day to the European tour at the Forum, and it was amazing. I will keep that memory forever. And I even gave you a hug afterwards, actually. You came
well, thank you. I probably needed it. I probably needed it because I was just beginning again, probably a bit nervous. But thank you.
But you took it with such grace, and what struck me both on stage and just standing next to you for like 30 seconds was that there is no barrier. You know, and I mean, rock musicians often do construct that barrier. And I just want to know if ever, when you started out, if you ever thought that you were above your audience, if you ever had that kind of patina of arrogance.
No, I had a lot of arrogance, but not that kind of arrogance.
Yeah.
Because I was really very conscious of being one of the people. I mean, I was also conscious of the fact that I believed I had special gifts. I mean, I feel like I'm an artist. I've always felt like, you know, God has given me special gifts, so I understand my own worth. But in terms of being a performer, especially in the context of rock and roll, I had no special talent. I was not a musician. I could sing a little. It was all bravado, and I really felt that I was exactly that, one of the people. And one of my goals and one of my missions was, within rock and roll, was to break that barrier, that idea of the big rock star that had, a lot of money and attitude and felt like they were, above everybody, because I believed that rock and roll was a true grassroots art. Everybody can't paint or write a poem or achieve, certain intellectual success. But rock and roll is a very simple art form. It's based on a few chords, on, a sense of revolution, on a sense of, sexuality, on a sense of, it opens its doors to anyone. And I always, have felt that I want, I've always tried to, on stage or off stage, I'm just the same person.
Yeah.
I don't have when I was younger, of course, I was, when you're younger, you just, you want to be cool, and I could be a real asshole and everything like that, but I wasn't. It's just because I had a lot of energy and bravado. It wasn't because I thought I was better than anybody else. It's just because I had a lot of, arrogant energy.
And it was real
but
cool.
I never, in terms of, what you said, it's my son, for instance, my son is a great guitarist, and he plays with me. And sometimes we're on stage, and we just start, in the middle of a solo, he might come up and we might start talking to each other, he's my son, we don't have any my son has no stage persona. He doesn't come on stage and turn into, Gene Simmons. He's himself. But, one has to be self-protective, because people, one has to have their privacy. I completely believe in, the right of privacy of an artist. I just, I don't believe that, artists are kings. I just believe they, have special skills or, special gifts, but it doesn't make them better than anybody else.
Yeah. I do heartily believe that no one is more important than anybody else on this planet. So.
Well, it's the way we conduct our operation. Our crew, my crew is, respected, and, there's a strong equality within our operation, and I look to my crew, with the same regard as the guitar players or anyone, because, they're the ones who do, the hard labor. Rock and roll is a collaborative process, and you have to, have respect for everybody involved.
Yeah. Okay, do you have energy for a few more questions?
Yes.
Okay. So something that I think is quite remarkable is that you've been so successfully able to acknowledge the cultural and important artistic, the kind of cultural and artistic importance of horses, but you've also managed to continue producing new work that exists on its own terms. Did horses ever feel like it was an albatross around your neck? Was it ever difficult to keep that balance?
No, I don't feel like that at all.
It doesn't sound like it ever.
I'm proud of the record. I still sing the songs on it. I'm always working on new things, and always working on new photographs or new poems or new songs. But the work that I do for the people, which are my records, to me those records belong to the people, and if they want to hear Because the Night for the 1000th time, I'm happy to sing it, and to sing Gloria, to sing People, to try to keep a relationship with these songs, and find, remember, what, compelled me to write them, and horses is not great technically. I didn't know anything about singing when I did horses, and it has its flaws, but I also know that I did it with everything that I knew how. Everything that I knew about poetry or all the things that I believed in, I tried to put into that record. And so, that was a long time ago, and I've certainly evolved since then. But I can look at it and say, I did my best that I could. And, I don't look at it and think, I compromised, or, I wasn't really paying attention, or I was too fucked up to do this record. I put everything I knew into it, and horses was really, I really put out horses for people who did feel alienated.
Yeah.
Because I felt that I really understood people that felt alienated for whatever reason, because of their sexuality, because they were just weirdos, because they weren't accepted by their peers or their parents, or for whatever reason they felt alienated.
Yeah.
And I think that it stands for that, and a lot of people through the years. It's amazing how many people through the years, and still now, tell me that the record has meant something to them, and that's something, that makes me feel very proud.
Good. It is. It's incredible. I've been listening to it solidly for the last few days, and also listening to your other records and your newest stuff. But that's amazing. It's like elemental. Yeah. Sorry, I'm burbling, but
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
You have experienced much loss in your life. Anyone knows a little bit about you knows that. And some amazing people have left you, and they've also clearly not left you. But really, on Horses, on that first record, I was listening to this today, and there's this profound and almost amazing sense of loss in many of your protagonists.
Well, I think it's because... Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, why at that point in your life were you ready to express such vulnerability and such strength?
I think it's because when I did Horses, my generation, I was about 26 years old, and my generation had since I was a young girl, I was a teenager when President Kennedy was shot. I was working for Robert Kennedy when he was assassinated. Martin Luther King was assassinated. And then people that, we pinned so much faith on. In those days, we put a lot of faith into our rock and roll stars.
Yeah.
Because, there wasn't so much diversion as there is now. And people we really look to our, the musicians to, they kept us informed and musically and politically, and they kept us in touch with the Cultural Revolution. And, Jimi Hendrix died, and Janis Joplin, and Jim Morrison, and this was a terrible blow on my generation to lose, Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King and Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix and Jim Morrison in the space of, 2 years, or a couple of years, all of it. Brian Jones. It was, and then so many hopes and dreams that, a certain type of, unification through, love, and no matter how, naive it sounds, so many people believed in that, and and then losing a lot of friends in the Vietnam War. I lost a lot of classmates. So by the time I was 25, it seemed like the whole idea was dying. And that's one of the reasons I did a record. I like I said, I wasn't a musician. Still sometimes it amazes me that I actually even did a record, because it never was one of my goals. I wanted to be a painter or a poet, and it just organically evolved that way. And it was my way to salute certain people, because, Elegy was written for Jimi Hendrix. The whole Land Elegy piece at the end was written for Jimi Hendrix. Break It Up was written for Jim Morrison. Birdland was written for Wilhelm Reich. It was a mirror into the, culture of our time, or my particular time.
That particular time is often described in writing, in stories about you and generally, as taking place in freer times, the late 60s and early 70s. Is that true? Were the 70s really freer, more enabling times in the 21st century? Do we have so much less freedom now? It feels like it from my perspective, but I don't know how much it is mythology.
I don't think it was that so much that there was freedom. It was that people were fighting for it and gaining it. It's not that it was sitting there. There was, homosexuals were fighting for freedom to be themselves and freedom to, not to hide and be looked down upon. The women's movement was very strong. The civil rights movement was strong. We were trying to end the Vietnam War. It was a time I mean, I know there was, I wasn't really part of the drug culture of the late 60s, so I couldn't really tell you so much about that because, I was living a different kind of life. I was going to school, and then I was working in factories, working my way through school, then working, I worked all the time, and I didn't have the lifestyle. I wasn't a hippie, I mean, I was a person who, I was, studying art and studying poetry. I was culturally intelligent, but I wasn't really part of my culture. Yeah. I was really more of a 70s person, even though I'm old enough to have been a 60s person. It's because of the responsibilities I had in the 60s. I wasn't really part of the drug culture. Also, I wasn't attracted to the drug culture. So, but so I think it wasn't so much about the early 70s or the 70s, not so much about freedom. It was about acquiring freedom.
Yeah.
And that struggle produces a lot of great art. Once you have freedom, sometimes people forget how hard it is to get it, and they don't use it wisely.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that strongly where, here in South Africa, that we're not always using our freedoms in the correct way, and also recognizing their value.
We're in a very material time in our society where people imagine that freedom means they have a lot of things.
Yeah.
They might have the best BlackBerry, or they have the best computer, or they have, but it's not really freedom. It's just a different kind of slavery. You're enslaved to your credit card, or, to the interest rates, or whatever else or to your stuff, And I think that people have to re-examine. We're going to have to go through a re-examining process and try to get back to the place where, not where people were in the 60s, because I don't believe in going back in time, but to at least examine ourselves and think, well, what makes me an interesting person? What makes me a good person? And what, right now we're in this weird place where people, we're in a very material place. We're in a place where people are so concerned about their appearance that young people are getting plastic surgery, and it's just a rampant, almost a disease. And really, the thing that will keep people young and beautiful is really working on their inner self. And no matter how corny it sounds, it's true. That, if you really, it's like when, if you eat well, if you exercise, if you're positive, if you doesn't mean you can't have fun. It doesn't mean you have to be square. But if you have a clean house inside, you're going to be a beautiful person anyway.
That's great.
Anyway.
Well, and it leads very beautifully to my last question, which is really just about that. Do you think that collectively that we're going to pull through as a planet? Do you think that we're going to manage to pull out of this and change our direction? And I must stress that I'm not asking you as a kind of prophet poet, but simply as a conscious human being.
Well, I mean, as a person of course I do. Of course I do, because I think we're not just one, because there's generation after generation after generation. And, right now we're in a very, I would say it's a very bad period. But there's good people within this bad period. We're not in a bad period where everybody is evil or where everybody is buying into all of this stuff. A lot of people are just confused. We're sort of more like the way, the way things are, they're a lot worse than they were in the early 70s.
Okay.
But but still, it's an atmosphere that I recognize. It's the atmosphere that made me do horses. Because I looked around and going on? You know, what's wrong with people?
Yeah.
They're forgetting who they are.
Yeah.
They're forgetting who they are. And, you know, in some ways we're forgetting who we are. And so we have to, you know, new generations will, you know, make records or write poems or get involved in politics or, you know, there's always good people that are ready to make change. And, you know, I feel discouraged sometimes, especially in my country. My country is very discouraging.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I don't know what it is, but I mean, life is beautiful.
It is.
We have a relatively short lifespan, but you know, with all the things that we can get, you know, all the material things, life is the best thing that we have. And if you're living and you're breathing, you know, you have a chance. And I just think that at any moment, people can start turning things around.
Yeah.
I don't know what, you know, will, you know, just the fact, for me, just the fact that you ask a question like that, I think is optimistic.
Okay.
You know, and also quite beautiful. I mean, I think it's quite beautiful that you would ask me that question. You know, it's like, but I realize, you know, it's like, you're what, 37 or something? I'm 61 years old. So but yet I still feel young. I don't feel like I'm an old, you know, like your grandma I'm talking to you. You know, I feel like we're two human. Not that there's anything wrong with a grandma. I'm just saying I don't feel fettered by that, because what we're doing is we're communicating, and that's how change will be made, is people communicating. And I don't know, it's a rough time. All I can say is, you know, try to be happy and take care of your teeth, drink a lot of water, and take care of your teeth, because if you don't, it's really a drag when you get older.
That's so funny. My
teeth clean.
My teeth are buggered. They all need to be replaced. I have not looked after my teeth. My teeth are all messed up.
Well, you know what? It just, this is what you do. My teeth were really messed up too. And what you do is just take a deep breath, go get them cleaned, see what you can do, and just try to do the best you can with them, because it'll really bug you when you get, it'll, I know I'm like, I really spend a lot of time talking to people about their teeth, because my generation had the worst teeth and the worst dental care. And when you get older, it's a pain in the ass. Because people think, oh, it's just your teeth, and they're so worried about their kidneys or their liver. But your teeth are really important. So take care of your teeth as best you can. Drink a lot of water. And, you know, cultivate your mind. You obviously have a good mind, and just, you know, but try to be happy.
Yeah.
Because the world is fucked up. There's no, I can't pretend or say, oh, it's not as bad as you think. Yeah, it's bad. The world is fucked up. And a lot of reasons it's fucked up is my country, you know. But with all that, as an individual, I tell my kids too, you know, you're like, think of yourself like a captain, and you've got this little boat. And sometimes the weather's good and you're just sailing, and sometimes big storms hit, and you know, you're in a stormy sea, but you're, you know, just ride it out. Ride it out. Because it's good to be alive.
It is. And it's even better having spent half an hour talking to you. I'm beaming with happiness, Patti. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It was really nice talking to you too. And take care of yourself, okay?
Thank you so much, Patti. It's been great. I hope you have an excellent sleep and wake up very rejuvenated.
Okay, thanks a lot.
And I send all my love to you. Cheers. Thank you, Patti.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Patti. For sampling of Patti's writing and music, check out talktopeter.com, where you'll find more conversations with creative minds, as well as playlists, recommendations, and other useful resources. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are in the world. And thank you for listening.